a bit of a surprise. Citizens especially, they've been consistently making the finals or right up there at the tippy top of these events in the tier 3 scene. So to see them down here so early and having to fight their way back up kind of makes this really interesting to me. It gives some real stakes to the match that we've got.
I think so too. And the other thing to think about that's really interesting is if they win this match against Aptyx today, their opponents in the next match are dismissed. The team that knocked them down into the losers bracket with a 3-0 in round 2 of the main bracket. So this is a chance not only for them to really get back into the swing of things, but to get revenge.
And you know they want that because, I said I was surprised. I'm sure they did not expect to find themselves here either. You know that they want the opportunity to go up against Dismissed once again, get another shot at the team that was able to take them down, catch them off guard a little bit. We'll see if they've learned a little bit. I mean, they came back swinging last week, after falling down into the losers bracket. They got a clean 3-0 against NA Runaway and are now ready to continue that run. And, of all the teams that we've got down here in the lower bracket, Citizens is the one that I am like, this team is really, really dangerous.
Agreed, and they're looking really strong right now. They definitely have something to prove, and I think that's kind of pushing them up. You know how in Overwatch League we had the Shock suffer that heartbreaking loss to the Atlanta Reign, and then they just carve their way through the lower bracket without dropping a map. There's that same sort of fire maybe going on here right now. But they're up against Aptyx Esports, who themselves just managed to make a pretty convincing win, 3-1 over Moonlight in the lower bracket. So this isn't exactly a match I think they can afford to look past. We're going to have a series here.
No, you absolutely cannot take any teams whatsoever lightly at this point in the tournament anymore. Maybe, in those first couple of rounds, you might be able to get away with not, bringing your A game to a match like this. But that's not the case anymore. That might be why Citizens finds themselves here in the first place, kind of taking their foot off the gas. But I think we'll have a nice test for them here tonight, and I'm excited to see what Aptyx is able to do. This will be the first time I've gotten to see this iteration of the team, at least in this meta. It's going to be very for me. Teams are still very much trying to kind of find their footing right now and adjust to the way that Overwatch is played at the moment, since the introduction of 222 and the addition of Sigma to the roster. Everything is in flux.
It's true, and honestly, those differences are massive because, like you said, one, we have DPS back in the mix now, and Rhea and Doomfist are DPS picks that have a ton of, pick potential. They're characters that can secure kills very quickly if you take your eyes off of them. And one of the keys to shutting them out is good Sigma play, because if you see a Reaper teleport in or Doom come in from an off angle to try and kill someone, that accretion, hitting them in the face with a boulder, is one of the surefire ways to sort of blunt the teeth of that attack and let your team collapse and secure a kill that might just get them the rest of the fight. Another thing to sort of to keep your eye on is the Orisa play. The halt from Orisa is a really valuable tool, and there's a lot of synergies with it. You can combo it with Doom ult, you can combo it with Accretion, you can combo it with with Death Blossom or with Sigma's primary fire. There's a lot you can do with that if you have the coordination to really take advantage of it. And those little things of being able to, have the appropriate reaction to DPS going in trying to secure those kills, and also being able to combo effectively, those are little things that might just make the difference in this matchup for these teams.
Now, I mean, and one thing I am going to be keeping an eye out for throughout this series is exactly, how the coordination lines up with those halts. In particular, I mean, it's one of the best ways you can set up your Doomfist for those rocket punches right now. And I think the hallmark of the really great teams that we've got in this meta is going to be like consistently landing those halts and having your team there to kind of follow up on.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of, like in a lot of previous metas, just being able to hit your combos is a big part of what separates groups of talented players from good teams.
Indeed, and it looks like we are just about ready to get into the game here. Everybody loaded into the lobby, so we'll be underway shortly. We're going to be kicking things off on Lijiang Tower. And I got to say, that is my favorite place to start a series in terms of any of the maps that we've got. I mean, it's a classic, and we see it a lot for good reason. Everybody loves to play this map, and to me, it's just a fantastic opening.
Agreed. And don't forget, with the different points on Lijiang, there is a good bit of flexibility. If we're on Night Market, we have the chance to see the Symmetra play, where we don't just have the teleport into the middle for that extra speed boost, but you have the chance to get on point early, set up turrets, and try and use that Symmetra for a self-defensive hold. If you're on Gardens, there's the chance that you can see some Pharah play, take advantage of the big, wide open area sort of on that outside of the tower. And if you're on Control Center, there's a chance you could pull out Mei, for example, use the walls to take advantage of that tight space, carve up enemy teams, and allow you to isolate individuals for quick kills that can swing an entire fight.
Yes, and I love to see the opportunities that teams have for changing things up just ever so slightly with those different DPS picks. For the most part, we're not seeing a lot of variation in terms of kind of the tank and support play. The Sigma Orisa duo has really kind of solidified as the primary tank duo that we're going to see. But the damage dealers, you can put a little bit of your own spin on things. And if you could do that effectively, it gives you a real leg up.
For sure. And while Doomfist and Reaper is kind of the bread and butter right now, like we've just gone over, there are other options. And it's a great thing that, while Reaper Doomfist is the norm, if you can work in some of these other options, you keep your enemy off balance. They don't quite necessarily have a read on things. You can get a free fight if they're expecting a different engagement than they get.
Absolutely, and this is going to be a fantastic series. We're now getting ready to go into game here, and it looks like we're going to be kicking things off on Control Center. You mentioned the Mei as a possibility here, but this is also just going to be a fantastic point for that kind of standard DPS duo. The Reaper and Doomfist both incredibly at home in kind of the close quarters that we've got.
Plenty of walls for Doomfist to knock people into, lots of enclosed spaces for Reaper to get up close and brawl, do lots of damage up close and personal with those shotguns. There's lots of opportunity for it.
Indeed, there is. Looks like we are starting to get the hero in here just a second. Might need a little bit of pause here on the side of Citizens, waiting on everyone to get quite situated. We had a couple people coming in at the last second, still trying to get everything ready for the game. Don't want to get underway without anyone. The 6v5 on the first fight, not going to be the best option.
Yeah, it's rough. Not exactly a thing anyone wants to start off on, but hopefully they'll be able to straighten things out. We'll get right into it. And so far, it's looking at these lineups, it's looking sort of what we predicted. Pretty bog standard in that you have the Orisa Sigma, Reaper Doom, and the Moira Lucio.
Yes, indeed, and it's no real surprise to see that at this point, and I don't think it's going to be a surprise to see that the entire night. Pretty much, no matter where we are, yes, you can make those flexes on the DPS picks if you want to, but you're never going to really put yourself at a disadvantage by playing this meta comp. So now it's going to come down to who can get the most out of this. I like what we are seeing out of Aptyx right there. They use the Symmetra teleporter to just get out of the spawn faster. It's going to give them a leg up and a faster route to the point, as the clash going around up on the high ground right now. The rocket punch coming in for Pred, not finding anything just yet, but the rest of Citizens still taking that ground pretty quickly.
Yeah, very aggressive engagement from Citizens. They're taking space. They're not giving Aptyx a chance to breathe, but it looks like Aptyx is going to be on the back foot here immediately.
Yeah, they lose what? He went in the back line trying to find an opening. Now the coalescence is out from both teams trying to this fight going, but the numbers in favor of Citizens and the kills there as well. Salieri picks up 2. They will run Aptyx off the point.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you lose that Reaper, you lose so much of your burst damage potential that winning a fight pretty much relies on you being able to secure a couple surprise picks. If you can't do that, the fight's going to snowball out of your control the way that it did.
Absolutely. So now Aptyx has the task of trying to push back in here. They come in with a nice punch from Moonblue, not getting anything just yet. They're waiting, kind of biding their time in this hallway, waiting for shields to be back up. The Meteor Strike forced out of Fred early on in this fight. The Sound Barrier to cancel out the Gravitic Flux. And once again, coalescences for both teams. This time Alexio, though, and the rest of Aptyx Esports are the one coming up big.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good engagement for them, very clean. They didn't overcommit on ultimates, though. They are gonna have a slight advantage over Citizens in this next engagement. They've got their Bongo about to come online. Their Death Blossom's going to be online. They're pretty much, when you have to push into these ultimates, it's going to be kind of rough.
We're pretty even in that regard, though. It's going to come down to who can execute a little bit better with this supercharger.
Big punch from Moonblue.
He gets some disruption, no kills just yet, but Default going to be the one to drop first. They answer back onto the Doomfist of Aptyx, but what takes the opportunity? Gets in the back with the Death Blossom, the supercharger to power him up, and 3 kills. Trouble.
That was a really, really impactful Death Blossom from what? That Gravitic Flux coming out from Purple had the potential to do a lot of damage, but once you get a 3k Death Blossom, there's nothing you can do. That fight is over. Return to spawn. Do not collect $200. That's it.
And they get to keep Skarm's Sound Barrier as well. That's a massive tool, but it's not going to be enough. Default drops in from the top shelf. Gets 2 for his troubles, picks up a 3rd, and Skarm never even had the opportunity to use the ult.
No, he didn't. That was just pretty much the second that fight started, they hit Q. They didn't give a moment to react, and honestly, taking that aggressive fight is good. It gives them a chance to get back onto the point, get some percentage ticking up. But the thing is, Skarm still has that Sound Barrier for this fight. It's a tool that the other team does not have, and there's really no DPS ult. They can use it at their leisure.
They're going to try to get aggressive off the back of those extra shields. Nothing coming in from that just yet as the Fright starts to spread out a little bit right now. The Meteor Strike out from Fred. Not going to get anything, but Salieri going to be the one to chime in first. The Flux is now out from Vanguard, but Camboyo got his Sound Barrier up in time. Salieri goes down, and what with another Death Blossom here to close things out and keep Aptyx on top.
That fight was so back and forth too, because with Moonblue getting picked early, you had Aptyx at a disadvantage, but they just stuck it out. They just stayed calm, played it out slow, looked for the right opportunity to use their ultimates, and it just came out again with another really key Death Blossom from what?
Yeah, but they do have to use a lot of those ultimates, though, so they're going to be pretty dry, using the supercharger early on to try to win this fight and close out Control Center, but they've lost Moonblue, no more damage dealers on the side of Aptyx, and now they're just getting swarmed by Citizens.
At this point, the best they can do, they've got the 99, just die quick, don't really bleed over any more ult percentage to Citizens than you have to, because now they've got a chance to come back in for one more fight, but neither team really has a lot of tools in place for this fight. There is a slight edge for Citizens, though. They're going to have Default's Death Blossom. Purple and Salieri's ultimates are going to be online in seconds. This needs to happen for Aptyx, and it needs to happen fast.
Yeah, but it's not the best start there, Moonblue Skarm. What? All down. It's desperation. It was so good for them. They've come to play here tonight, but it's not enough on Control Center. Citizens go up 1-0.
And it was a very close, very closely contested point here, 100-99. We don't have a team with a definitive edge here just yet.
Definitely not. I mean, it's like we said in the pregame. We think that this is going to be a pretty evenly matched series across the board, and I am very encouraged by what we saw there on Control Center. We'll see if these changes coming through from Aptyx are going to be legitimate. The Symmetra Med out on the field is an interesting look. This is the point for it, though. Night Market, fantastic for that teleporter.
You can block off chokes, funnel people into your turrets. It gives you a lot of damage and a lot of ultimate charge to build up that wall very quickly. And it looks like Citizens is going to be staying with that standard look, though.
Indeed they are, but the teleporter already coming in to get Aptyx on the point. They've got the position there. They are blocking them off. Salieri walled off from the rest of the team. They're going to collapse in on them. Nathan gets a double kill with the halt off the edge. Perfectly placed right through the window. They never saw it coming.
Oh, if you're an Orisa player, that is a dream come true. And honestly, that fight could not have gone more perfectly for Aptyx. Use the TP to get onto the point quick. Early wall isolates Salieri. It's pretty much academic as soon as he gets picked. And then Nathan lands that massive pull. Just beautiful stuff.
And that gives him such a huge lead in terms of the ult charge right now. He's already at 70% of that first supercharger. That is insanely fast for a value ultimate like that. And now they get the pick onto purple. They've started this fight off well, and they're looking to push forward and try to chase down the remaining members of Citizens.
And right now you see that Aptyx has, or Citizens, I should say, has swapped over to the Pharah to try and counter this. But I don't know how much good that's going to do. The point here is really well enclosed. There's only a few sort of angles you can take to get some damage where you're not going to be taking poke from the Symmetra turrets or just generally be in the range of this Aptyx defense.
And in that last fight, he tried to flank around the back, and it cost his team. They didn't have the extra damage.
They're fighting a 4v6 when he's on these flanks, and Aptyx just pushes in on them.
Yeah, well, he's gonna be sticking with the rest of the team for this fight. He kind of recognizes the problem they had last time. The Coalescence is out again from both sides, but that Blizzard in over the top from Moonblue gonna make it an easy cleanup for Aptyx.
Beautiful Blizzard, and not an overcommitment from ultimates coming out on the part of Citizens either. They used to, they win the fight, they've still got the they've got the Sound Barrier coming online. They're about to have the Gravitic Flux. They've still got Nathan's Bongo and what's Photon Barrier. They're in a great spot.
Absolutely, they're going to throw down that supercharger immediately, just force Citizens to push into all of this damage. Salieri trying his best to hold his own, but just getting taken apart. The barrage gets nothing for Pred, and that's just going to be an easy 100-0 for Aptyx.
Great DPS play on the part of Aptyx there. They looked clean. They looked like this was a really well-practiced comp for them. And I do think the Pharah was the pick to counter it. That barrage is a very powerful tool and great for cleaning off the point. But in a lot of these fights, Pred wasn't really a big factor there for his team in the way that he might have been with a more conventional DPS pick, shall we say, you know, a Symmetra of his own or a Reaper.
No, I mean, it's very tempting to go over to that Pharah when you see the Symmetra and the Mei on the other side. You know, there's no kind of long-range threat to deal with you. Those Icicles really all that they've got in the back pocket there, but it just never has enough impact over the course of that fight. But we are going to be seeing Pharah, not just from Pred, but also from What here.
And I like it a little more on this map. There's a lot more room for them to maneuver. The angles you can take are a little more pronounced. There's just a better shot at getting things done without necessarily having a risk. Interesting pick from Salieri, though, onto the Hammond instead of the Orisa Sigma for this.
Oh, he was looking for the knockoff there by rolling through, but just gets swept up and halted off the edge. What a great combo there from Alexio and Nathan. They get the first pick. They started off right, taking the main tank out of the fight, and now they're just taking control of this point once again.
Absolutely, and while that Hammond does let you get to point quickly, does give you the ability to displace enemies, and he's already back in the fight. The thing you have to realize, though, is without him, his team doesn't have that much barrier to mitigate damage, but it doesn't look like it matters. They just take a step back, wait for their respawns, come back in, and just clean this fight up.
Indeed, they play that one patiently, willing to wait for Salieri to really get back in the fight. A huge kind of tempo res coming in there from Camboyo to bring that back in their favor, and they're able to get a quick flip, 23%, all that Aptyx are able to accrue.
And now Aptyx is in an interesting spot here because when you have the Pharah on this map, it is difficult to retake just because like previously mentioned, the points are somewhat enclosed. You've got to find an angle to get in and put some damage down. It's a lot easier to defend with the Pharah than to take with it.
It definitely is, but interesting right now, Citizens giving up quite a bit of ground on the point. Moonblue and Default both getting traded back and forth there on the point, so a very even fight at this point. The mine's out from Salieri, keep Aptyx at bay. They can't push through the choke with those in the way, and they are going to be repelled here.
Yeah, the displacement from the mines, the boops from Salieri, the damage coming in from Pred, it all kind of serves to just carve up Aptyx and leave them open, leave them a little bit scattered. If you looked at the end of that fight, they just weren't really shooting at the same target because, well, they were all getting hit from pretty much every conceivable angle.
Well, they've realized that given, what you just talked about, the Orisa not really finding a lot of value in these fights right now. They're too scattered, too spread out. So they are going to put Nathan on the wrecking ball of his own, trying to come in, find a pile drive target, looking to put some pressure on Sayumi, but the rest of the fight already going in the direction of Citizens. What tries to swing it back with the barrage there only gets one before killing himself.
You have to wonder if they're going to swap off now because they've used both the ultimates from this pharmacy combination. We've got the Widowmaker here to try and shut down the Pharah from a distance. Will they be able to get anything done with it? I don't know. This is such a late swap.
Indeed it is, and it's kind of desperation here for Aptyx at this point. We're at 99%. They can't afford to leave the point for a second. They are kind of grouping up for a push over here in the White Halls, but Vanguard gets caught out. He's separated from the rest of the team, and there's nothing they're going to be able to do here. Citizens bring this back here on Gardens, get a very impressive victory, and are going to take Lijiang Tower to go up 1-0 in this series.
Yeah, that was a very clean series of fights for Citizens. Really great play from Default. While he might have gotten picked, he always, did a lot of damage in that fight. Same with Pred. They just didn't get picked in the same way that the DPS for Aptyx did. And if you lose your DPS in the start of a fight over and over again, your chances of winning that fight dramatically go down just because you don't have the damage to secure the kills on the enemy anymore.
Absolutely, and one thing we saw in that series, it was very back and forth in terms of who was kind of excelling on the different points. Control Center very close. Aptyx looked very polished on the one kind of pocket strat that they brought out for Night Market, but when it came to that Pharah duel and the wrecking ball play coming out on Gardens, they just didn't look quite as comfortable, and it ends up costing them there on Lijiang Tower. It was a really close first map, but it goes in the direction of Citizens. They find themselves up 1-0, and that's always the best advantage you can have in this series, getting that map in your back pocket.
Agreed. It's a great way to start off, and it means that your opponent is the one who's going to need to make adjustments. We saw in that last fight, Moonblue and What really kind of got shut out during that, while Pred and Default were able to get in there and just consistently find damage and survive. Right now, Aptyx has to figure out how to avoid that same thing from happening forward, and how to sort of prevent Citizens from just taking this momentum and running away with the match. And maybe, depending on what map we're going to be seeing next, maybe we'll see more of that Mei and Symmetra play. Just because, like you said, they looked really polished with it on Night Market, and at the same time, Citizens didn't look like they knew what to do with it. It looked like that it caught them off balance and put them on the back foot. And if Aptyx wants to get back into this series, that might be a viable strategy. Maybe not, play it all the time for the rest of the match, but working it in there might, mix things up just enough to prevent Citizens from, settling into the pocket and getting comfortable.
There are definitely opportunities that you can break something like that out. Especially, I'm kind of thinking in my mind, like attacks on assault maps where you can use that teleporter to get to the point quickly and kind of catch your opponent off guard. As we're headed into map 2, it's going to be King's Row. And to me, that's another place where you might have that option to at least bring out the Mei. I'm not sure that the Symmetra is necessarily going to be in play here. for Aptyx. But on that first point defense, the Mei can be incredibly powerful.
Agreed. And hey, there's always the possibility of someone trying to pull out the NYXL strat, because NYXL on this map, throughout the Overwatch League playoffs, has liked to pull out an attack Bastion.
That's certainly true. I mean, that's a wrinkle that teams definitely kind of have in their back pocket if they feel the series kind of going against them. It's definitely a possibility and something that can be incredibly effective. It takes a lot of coordination to counter the Bastion pick coming out from the other team. You've got to completely change your play style to focus in on just the immense amount of damage that he can put out. So definitely a way to kind of change things up. We'll see if Aptyx are to that point where they are ready to move away from the kind of the standard compositions just yet. They'll be starting out on the attack here first as we swap sides for map 2. Citizens now in the blue and Aptyx in the red.
Yep, it's looking pretty standard so far from Citizens. Nothing to write home about. I don't think this is what we're going to see coming out from.
Don't even talk about it yet. We're still 10 seconds out. There we go. There might be real.
There it is.
Ooh, so the Symmetra and the Bastion going to be making an appearance here for Aptyx. They've got another plan here, and this is what we talked about. This is what gave them success on Night Market, having a plan, knowing how to execute. They're up on the high ground already with that teleporter, and they've got Citizens pinned in behind the statue.
A big positional advantage for them now, and it's pretty much they can take their time, play this out slow, just try. If they get one pick, this starts to snowball very, very quickly. They're already TPing around, finding more and more advantageous angles. They just get to take this fight at their leisure right now.
They do, and they're wrapping all the way around the back on the high ground, but at some point they've got to find a way to put some pressure on the point.
Look at Default up in that corner.
Yeah, both of the DPS for Citizens lying in wait, ready to pounce. And Pred gonna be the one to chime in first. He punches Alexio out right after that immortality field goes down, and they are able to get the first pick, but still they don't have anything to deal with the Bastion.
Yeah, and it was some really smart play, good use of cover that's allowing them to sort of stay into this fight. But the picks are coming out one by one, and when you're the attackers on King's Row, you have a way shorter run back to the point than the defenders do. If you get one-to-one trades, as long as you don't, keep staggering and costing yourself the fight, you've got a good position. But right now, it looks like Citizens is stabilized, and now Aptyx just has 3 members behind enemy lines.
Yeah, they've got the Sigma, the Bastion, the Mercy up in the high ground, and now they are starting to get swarmed by the remaining members of Citizens. Pred gonna eliminate what the Bastion is done. It was a nice idea from Aptyx, but they just didn't do it quite cleanly enough. And after they lost a few members, they had no way to kind of pressure the objective, and ultimately that's what Overwatch is about.
Was smart play from Citizens. They used their positioning to sort of deny Bastion line of sight as much as possible. They had Default in position to sort of pressure that high ground a little bit, put some fear into the enemy. They had just a good position for this attack, and now they're coming in, just going right up into it.
Yeah, the amplification metrics out, but what doesn't get to take a lot of use of it is he goes down early. Still, the kills coming in here for the side of Aptyx. This one looking to be a bit more successful of the push. They get real aggressive with it. Default has something to say about it, though. Unleashing that Death Blossom, I think it's a bit in vain here, though. He's not going to be able to last long, and even Salieri back on the Wrecking Ball can't really expect to find much.
Trying to just stall it out, but they do find a kill onto what? I don't know that that's going to stop this cap from coming through, but honestly, I don't know how much I like the very, very late staggers here. It does kind of slow things down, but means that you've got a few members of your team getting that really far, all the way at point C spawn. It means that that Citizens here has a good amount of time to just push Aptyx, I should say, to push the cart forward. before Citizens can really mount an organized defense. They're going to get around this first bookstore corner, and that's a really defensible spot that you want to try and hold if you're going to try and bleed off a lot of time in streets.
They give up on the Bastion here, not going with the pirate ship through Kings Row Streets phase, and now the engagement coming in from Citizens. They want to get aggressive to try to take this fight, but they're pushing into a supercharger. That will go down, but the kill's still there for Aptyx right now. Nothing doing for Citizens. They try to stop the payload, and now I'm not sure they're even going to get another good team fight here. This might just be a quick point B.
I think so, and honestly, I want to shout out Moonblue in that fight. He saw Default going in for the teleport to get in behind Aptyx. Moonblue just charged up his punch, got that one-shot kill, and gave his team a 5v6 advantage, really before the fight even began.
Indeed, and without that extra DPS, Citizens just didn't have the punching power to turn that one around. They didn't have the sustainability either, but now they're going to recontest with the Gravitic Flux coming out from Purple. No kills just yet. The support ultimates committed for the side for both Moiras here as they try to keep this going. Alexio going to find Paydirt with his takes down Default.
And now we've got Aptyx pushing in here. Skarm does fall, that does kind of even things out, but right now, it doesn't really look like Citizens are pushing in. As soon as I say that, they start pushing in. They were content to give up some space, fall back, let the cart tick forward a little bit, re-engage, but Vanguard lands a big Gravitic Flux.
Takes out his opposite number. Purple is down, but now Default back out on the Bastion, the emergency swap to stop this payload in its tracks, and it's gonna be successful here for Citizens. They get just enough done over the course of that fight for their defensive spawns to come in and to really stabilize.
They played that cautiously, and I thought that might have been their undoing for a little bit, but the Bastion swap coming out for Default laid down a lot of damage. They played it patiently, used their ultimates right, and Camboyo got a few big picks right at the end there that just guarantee that fight is over. And the length of that fight did bleed a lot of time off of this push for Aptyx.
It did, but they are knocking on the door right now at the very end of the map here. One fight will do it for them, but Default still standing in their way. He's forced out of the turret configuration, forced to get on the move as he's being beamed down by the Coalescence. The Death Blossom for what finds absolutely nothing, but Moonblue is doing it all right now. Gets the double kill there, one with the Meteor Strike, eventually goes down to his opposite number, and Citizens once again just barely hanging on here at the end.
And you have to wonder if Aptyx is going to wish that they had some of those ultimates back. They committed the Doomfist ult, they committed the Bongo, they committed Death Blossom, and they really didn't get anything for it.
No,
it's like they're swapping back over to that Bastion Symmetric comp, though.
Yeah, this is fascinating coming into this last point. Trying to potentially get up on the high ground with the Bastion, give him a vantage point to shoot down on the cart, but getting him in position is going to be the name of the game here. And without the teleporter, they can't do anything. Moonblue goes down. That's the go signal for Citizens. They're pushing forward. They want to get aggressive, but they can't be too forward at this point. The Bastion's still very dangerous.
Although, hey, honestly, the committed Coalescence on the part of Aptyx, that works just fine if you're Citizens. Have them commit an ultimate, have them turret up and Bastion, have Bastion turret up. Just kite back around that corner. You're fine. They've just committed an ultimate for 0 space.
Now they do have control of the high ground, but they've lost Nathan in the meantime. Default able to get that kill. Vanguard as well boot down to the low ground, and the cleanup is easy for Citizens at that point.
Yeah, they just played it calm and collected, just landed that disruption every time Aptyx tried to get set up. And that comp is all about getting set up. It's about just getting that Bastion the ability to put it down that damage. Moonblue's still behind, though. The fight's going on point. Oh, Citizens knows. They're not letting this C9 happen. They're not letting the back door. Skarma 2!
Oh my god, that could turn this fight on its head completely. Aptyx looked like they had no chance to finish this map, but now looking very likely as they hunt down the remaining members of Citizens. Can these respawns get back out here? Can Camboyo buy enough time for Citizens to make a defense? He's gonna try, but the Flux takes out Default. so much of the damage gone. This Coalescence has to be huge, Sayumi, but it's just not doing enough at the moment. The kills all going in the direction of Aptyx, and they finish off King's Row at the 11th hour.
At the 11th hour, the clock had already struck midnight. If it wasn't for Skarm landing that absolutely massive two-piece kill with that boop, I don't think that they would have finished this. I think that Moonblue would have been caught out and killed, and then Citizens would have just rode that man advantage to a successful hold. But Skarm comes in, lands those kills, and from there, his team just has such an advantage that Citizens was never really able to mount a fully organized defense from that point on. They were just kind of trickling in, getting picked one by one, committing ultimates, trying desperately to buy the time for the rest of their team to come in, but it was all for naught.
And that is kind of gutting there for Citizens. You know, you thought you had that defense in the bag. It was looking so strong for you. And as things often do when it comes down to those overtime situations, one person gets in the back and touches to trigger the overtime, and all hell breaks loose. It's just pure chaos on the point, and Skarm able to take advantage of that chaos, finds the crucial kills in the clutch to keep his team, you know, in it and to allow them to finish the map here on King's Row, which, you know, it's such a massive difference between, you know, barely coming up short and actually getting the 3.
For sure, and it puts the pressure on Citizens now to really make something happen here, and it looks like they're going to be trying to do that with the Mei.
This is an interesting look on the offense, not something you see necessarily all that often, but we'll see what Pred can get done with it. They're rotating up through the high ground right now. They want to get as easy of an entry as possible, take control of this, you know, position.
Moonblue in position. Moonblue with an early pick on Sayumi, and this fight may just already be over. That's the primary source of healing for the entire team gone. And Moonblue follows up with another kill on Purple. This man is going insane right now.
Yeah, he's going to get 3 before it's all said and done. Maybe another. Nope, it's going to be stealing a couple on the tail end. But exactly what you want to be doing as a Doomfist right now. Lying in wait, finding the ideal target in Sayumi to just delete her from the fight and you know, cut off pretty much all of the healings that Citizens had.
It was the perfect reaction to the approach that Citizens were taking, and it looks like he's going in again, causing some chaos, spreading that team out, wrapping through the hotel. Let's see what they can make happen.
So they've gotten the entry, but this time it's going to be Kemboyo going down to his opposite number, and that's the go signal. You know, Citizens or Aptyx just continue to get aggressive off the back of that first pick. They've got Citizens hold up in this corner, and they just bowl over them.
And that's 2 fights won pretty much instantly because Moonblue is just going in, either creating enough disruption that the enemy team is scattered and it's easy enough to find an isolated member to kill, or he's just getting the kills outright. There's 2 minutes gone on this time bank already, and we're seeing Pred swap off the Mei and onto the Doomfist of his own after that first fight.
Well, they've seen how much Moonblue's getting done with it. They want a Doomfist of their own in the lineup, and once again, going to be Moonblue, that time set up by a nice halt from Nathan to get the kill with the Meteor Strike. He takes down Pred as well, and right now, Aptyx doing such a good job of hunting down whatever members of Citizens remain at the end of the fight, not letting them get back to spawn, and taking that ult charge to, you know, build up to their next round.
They're laser focused. As soon as someone's getting hurt or isolated, the call comes out, everyone collapses on them to secure that kill. That's what you need to do in a high sustain, high damage comp like this one.
And speaking of high damage, the Supercharger out for Salieri. Nathan gonna drop his as well in a bit of a safer position around the corner, protected by the shield, but it is gonna go down. Kemboyo finds the angle. The default finds Nathan. The kill is finally going in the directions of they come in with the ultimates, and they are gonna be able to get point A.
Yeah, this time Moonblue goes in with that same really aggressive, straight up the gut approach with the punch. This time he gets punished for it. We're going to have to see if Citizens can keep making that happen, because we see if Aptyx gets that setup from Moonblue, they're able to ride that to fight with. Citizens needs to keep stuffing them like that if they want to be able to push through the rest of this map, because they don't have a huge time bank to do it.
And they've already pretty much lost this first fight on point B, going down immediately as Aptyx regain control of the cart, and they do it before it even gets to push through that choke.
Going for that disrespect, that spawn door hold. But here's the thing, Fred is still way behind them. I don't know what he's going to be doing. Is he going to go for the cart, or is he just going to try and come in for the surprise attack from the side as his team's trying to come out the door?
Yeah, and I mean, I think he might just be waiting. He is going to go push the cart a little bit. Has been spotted here, but I think Aptyx, they just want to continue fighting on this high ground. They want to get aggressive with the sound barrier, pushing in towards the spawn doors. They've got Citizens kind of separated at the moment. Sayumi tries to use that coalescence, and Purple eventually finding the kills, and now the rest of them flow in like the river uncovered by the dam, and Citizens will break through.
Citizens finally breaking out of that spawn door hold from Aptyx. But the thing is, that spawn door hold means that for over a minute, Citizens got no progress on B. It's pretty much just an extension of point A at this point.
I mean, it's such a stark contrast to what we saw on Aptyx attack, where they basically got point B off of the back of one fight. Citizens having to work much harder to get any progress right now, and they're behind the 8-ball.
They've set themselves, Aptyx have set themselves up for success here, and Moonblue takes out Default when Default goes for that. I want to call that an optimistic Death Blossom and Vanguard with the cleanup. That's beautiful.
You love to see it right there. Vanguard getting the triple kill with the Gravitic Flux to finish off that fight. But as you said, I mean, it was the kill there onto Default as he's going for the Death Blossom. Without that tool, without that frontline damage, Citizens kind of just get, bowled over once again.
Yeah, and it looks like we've got an interesting angle set up from Aptyx. Taking the high ground, hiding in that cubby. Purple falls immediately. That's another push that's over before it really had a chance to get out of neutral.
And their Aptyx just waiting to ambush Citizens. They take up position in a bit of an unorthodox spot on that high ground, but they're lying in wait. They drop the supercharger and they just collapse in onto Purple. They only get one kill, but that's enough to buy them more time. If Citizens are going to finish this point, it's going to be in overtime.
And now Citizens has a pretty sizable ultimate advantage. They've got to make it work now if they're going to.
And they've traded Doomfist right now, and the support ultimates coming out from Citizens as they try to keep going in this fight. They cannot afford to lose it, and at their last chance here on King's Row, they are going to be able to win the fight, push through here on point B, and keep themselves alive.
And the thing is, Aptyx has done such a good job setting themselves up for success with that early hold. They might even have the chance to recontest here. They're not necessarily going to give this up for free.
Indeed, they're not. They're trying to make this happen right now. The Flux out from Purple, trying to keep them away from the point. Not going to happen. We're going to have a brawl here as the Meteor Strike coming in from Moonblue finds Sayumi. Default doing his best to turn it around with the Death Blossom, but it's just not happening. Aptyx get the stop there, and that is the power of the spawn hold right there. They got They got to lose 2 fights on point B of King's Row and still come back in for that final defense.
Yeah, honestly, that defense was about as textbook as you could ask for. Beautifully played by Aptyx. They didn't give Citizens a moment to breathe. They were pressuring them from pretty much the start of any engagement Citizen wanted to take. Every time they're trying to set up, to use sort of a boxing terminology, sort of find their range with the jab, set up, get that early poke, take the angles they want. They just get a bloody nose from Moonblue, just cracking them right in the face with that rocket punch.
Absolutely, and I mean Moonblue, we called that name time and time again throughout that map there, really showing up big time on King's Row as Aptyx are able to come in with a response in this series, even things up 1-1, and I love to see it. This is a fantastic series to watch, so back and forth at the moment. But Aptyx, that was a statement.
Yeah, and I think you also need to just give a shout out to Skarm, because Skarm's pick on that Lucio pretty much guaranteed them the point C on King's Row. That boop, ultimately, yeah, they may have stopped Citizens before they even made it to point C, but just getting there, like making that 11th hour, as you said, play to just save the attack round, that puts a lot of pressure on Citizens. It means that, and also, to be fair, suffering that sort of loss is frustrating. It's sort of a little bit of mental warfare, as well as actually winning the literal physical war going on the map.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy when something like that happens for the either the members who were booped off the edge to be kind of angry at themselves, kind of get in their own heads, or even their teammates to be a little frustrated with, how did we let that happen? It was there in the palm of our hands. And
exactly.
if you're thinking about that, you are not thinking about your next attack round. And Citizens came up a little flat there.
Yeah, but looking at Kings Row, now we kind of see the path forward for these teams. We're tied 1-1, but the momentum's in favor of Aptyx, and they kind of won that in large part off of the good initiation from Moonblue. Whenever he was able to go in and get some damage and cause disruption, Aptyx was always able to follow up and ride that to a win, or at least, often enough that that's kind of a key success for them. Citizens, they were able to take point A when they finally stuffed Moonblue and took him out of the fight early. Basically, they need to be on point to parry that thrust whenever Moonblue's coming in there. And his angle of attack, while he's been able to make a lot happen with it, when he hasn't set up for like those off angles like he did on the first two pushes, has been fairly predictable. He kind of comes straight in there. And, I'm all for the no fear approach. I am a big fan of Fraggy and Bumper. But, be creative. Don't quite, settle into that pocket too soon. Or what we saw happen, Purple can land an accretion, stun, and then the team just wipes him out, and then suddenly Aptyx is in a rough spot.
I mean, what I do like on top of the way they're following up on Moonblue is how willing they are to get kind of really aggressive as a full team. Usually in this meta, it's the DPS that are going into the backlines trying to find those opening picks, and the front line is there kind of holding ground for the most part. But they are willing to charge forward with that speed boost, get right up in the face of Citizens.
Yeah, there is no fear.
Yeah, I love to see that. And I'm interested to see how that continues to play out over the course of this series. We're gonna be headed into Busan for map number 3. Citizens, they were able to take the control map the first time around on Lijiang Tower. They want to take us back to that game mode here to try to get the win.
Mm-hmm. And once again, this map does kind of give you some potential for some different approaches. There are some really long sight lines that might lend themselves to a sniper in the ilk of Hanzo or Widowmaker. There's some open side, like you saw Guangzhou Charge. Nero played a lot of Pharah on this map. And ultimately, while that map kind of became the Fleta show, Pharah is viable here. But looks right now that it's going to be pretty standard coming out from both teams.
Neither team really seems to kind of be disenchanted with the meta right now. They are more than willing to go toe-to-toe on these mirror compositions. So that's what we're going to have once again as the teams get ready to clash. Before moving over to the point, Salieri getting pretty aggressive with that shield, trying to push forward, take some space for Citizens, but nothing happening just yet. Moonblue goes low, can't get away with the rocket punch, and they just delete the Doomfist from the map.
Big source of damage, a big tool to initiate, and as we've seen, one of the key components in a successful push for Citizens, for Aptyx, already off the board, and Citizens just can take their time, play it slow, clean up. They have that advantage, and they're just going to ride it to a win.
Indeed they are. So that's the start you need there if you're Citizens, trying to kind of shift the momentum back in your favor here. Kings Row, a little bit of a misstep for them, but now they've got control here on downtown, and Aptyx, they've got to find a way to make their way through these tight choke points.
And we're getting some really nice aggressive shield positioning from Citizens. They're not giving Aptyx a chance to sort of spread out and take angles. They're not giving them space.
Yes, but Aptyx going to just take the space this time, and what going to be the one to get in the back, find the kills. A triple kill is going to kick things off here. Citizens sent back to spawn mighty quickly, 4 in the end for the Reaper of Aptyx.
Yeah, I think What was just kind of tired of hearing us talk about Moonblue. He wanted to come in there and show off that, there are 2 DPS on this team, and an absolutely just great positioning, great job laying down that damage, securing the fight for his team.
Absolutely, and now he's lying in wait up on the high ground with that Death Blossom ready to go. Gonna drop down with the rest of his team as Pred uses that Meteor Strike incredibly early. Moonblue coming in off the flank, finds Camboyo. Vanguard has fallen in the meantime, takes himself out of the fight, and now Citizens, they've managed to get a bit of a man advantage here. We do have a quick pause, maybe some next issues as
maybe.
Well, we'll see in just a minute. We'll get back into this, but looking at the fight as it's playing out right now, Citizens have the man advantage, but they have lost their Lucio. They definitely are on the up and up in this fight. But still, a lot of ultimates for Aptyx that could be brought out immediately after this pause.
Yeah, they are down, but they're not out of this fight just yet, especially with Camboyo gone. We're back into it now, and as soon as I say that there is potentially still some hope, Default slams that door shut with a Death Blossom.
Indeed, and that's going to allow Citizens to get back in here, even up the score, and start building up past where Aptyx are right now. But look at the ultimates online for the next fight. 4 for Citizens, 5 for Aptyx.
They have pretty much every tool they could hope to have and win this fight out. Bongo's down and destroyed already on both sides, though, so not getting the most value out of that. Nathan's down, Default hunting him down, and so far it looks like Citizens is going to be able to hold.
They will. An explosive fight, nearly all 9 of those ultimates that we talked about coming out in that one. What, the only one kind of hanging on to his, and Aptyx are going to need it as they try to re-engage.
Moonblue going in deep. Don't think that was the escape he wanted after landing that punch. But What might have just kept his team in it anyway, and it looks like that that misstep isn't going to cost them this time.
It was a distraction the whole time. It let what get in the back line unimpeded and unleash that Death Blossom. They do get the retake, but it's 96% on the board for Citizens. One fight will win this point.
Moonblue pulling a bit of an Archer, a classic misdirection.
You love to see it, and there he almost gets the punch kill right off the bat. Purple going incredibly low, and he will finish it off. The nice halt Meteor Strike combo, but Moonblue will pay his life for that, and Citizens now turning this one around with a Meteor Strike of their own. Pred, the only Doomfist on the field at the moment, and he's wreaking havoc. The Death Blossom as well from default. No kills just yet, but zoning the members of Aptyx away, separating them from each other, and Citizens gonna get the cleanup.
And it looks like this might just be it. The combo, the halt and slam, was pretty good coming out for Aptyx, but the one coming in from Citizens was just that little bit better. And they staggered their ults a little longer. Default still had his ultimate come through at the very end of that fight. And while it was closely contested, 100 to 95, I think Citizens was just that little bit cleaner here.
I mean, and it's something that we see all the time. Winning that first fight on these control points is so crucial. Citizens getting on the board early, it gives them some cushion to work with, and as they trade back and forth, it means that when they win that final fight, it's over. There's no chance for Aptyx to really get back in and force an overtime engagement. So The first point going over to Citizens as they try to secure map point to put this series to 2-1 and regain the lead.
Yeah, and they look good doing it, but we're seeing another non-conventional pick coming out from Aptyx. They're bringing out the Ashe this time. So let's see how this is going to be used here. Lots of nice long sight lines for what to put down a lot of damage, but there's Moonblue going in deep.
Yes, he is, and so far, not quite finding anything. The shield's too plentiful on the side of Citizens, but they're forcing them back. Moonblue getting the punch to buy an entry here for Aptyx as they push on to the point. Neither team willing to hard commit at this point, just playing around the drum in the center, but Default gets that opening pick. Moonblue going in a bit too deep, bites off more than he can chew, and will go down. Now the Coalescence out from both sides. The advantage for Citizens in terms of the numbers, but Aptyx not ready to give this one up.
No, they're not. And what does get the pick off onto Pred? This is where things might start to swing into their favor. If it's not for Default getting that pick onto Nathan, that's the disadvantage of the Ashe pick. You have less brawling, you have less damage to brawl up front, less tank busting potential than you do with that Reaper. Even with the Bob coming out, which ultimately I think is kind of the biggest tool you get with Ashe, it's not going to be enough. Citizens are able to just grind this one out on the back of better sustain. They are able to survive the slightly lower damage coming out from Aptyx and just keep applying pressure until eventually their higher DPS output is just too much for that front line to handle.
Certainly, especially when you have to fight on the point. You've got to push right into Default's range, and he is just going to shred your front line. So very dangerous for Aptyx here. They're going to once again try to come in on the high ground here by the stairs, just waiting out this Coalescence, gonna use theirs as they try to push in here, but the Flux is out from Purple. He goes down in the meantime, and Vanguard looking to unleash his, get Sayumi, and now Aptyx looking to swarm over the point.
Moonblue with an absolutely huge cancel onto Purple, denying that Gravitic Flux, sets his team up for the win here. And Default also commits his Death Blossom a little late into that fight, gets canceled out. I think he might have gotten hit by an Accretion or a Doomfist punch, because I heard the into the middle of him screaming for Citizens to die. But yeah, now Citizens really doesn't have any tools to fight here. They committed pretty much everything, and they're going to be pushing into Bob. They're going to be facing Bongo soon. This has got to be a dry push for them, I think.
More or less, they're going to be hoping for an immediate pickoff, but with Pred going down, the odds are a lot less likely at this point. The Bob out as well from Wet as he goes down, is able to get that ult off before Default does the damage. A back and forth affair, but still, it seems like Aptyx coming out on top. They have the numbers here, and it's just Salieri who can escape with his life.
Salieri gets away, and that was a near, yeah, no, with Salieri dead there, that's beautiful if you're Aptyx. That's what you want to see happen, because now Citizens can't push until he respawns and makes his way over. That's another, maybe 10 seconds of control percentage just built up, all from killing him later than the rest of his team.
And they didn't even have to commit the supercharger there for Nathan in that fight. As soon as they drop that, What becomes a one-man wrecking crew with that extra damage, able to tear through, but he's just going to be deleted. The Accretion from Purple takes him out, and Citizens getting aggressive here with the Coalescence, with their sound barrier. They push on, and they will retake.
Yeah, that opening pick onto What was big, immediately followed by another kill from Pred. They're really just taking the most of their pick potential, and this is really, honestly, if you're Aptyx, you got to feel pretty good about where you're at right now. You've got some time to work with, some time to build up a solid ultimate bank and push in. And right now, they may be down in terms of their ult economy compared to Citizens, but they have some room.
Citizens looking to keep up the pressure right now. They push forward with the supercharger backing them, and Aptyx just gonna kind of dip out right now, kite it back, and try to stay alive. The Gravitic Flux coming out from purple is going to be able to get them a couple of kills here, as the even trades seem to work out in the favor of Citizens.
Yeah, and so far, you still have a lot of that one-shot kill potential on the board for Aptyx, but they just weren't able to get anything from it. Still, you've got Moonblue coming in the side. Can he make anything happen? Charges his ultimate, looking for an opening.
I think he's probably just going to escape back to the rest of his team, but Pred already finding Pater in the back line. What goes down, and now without Alexio in the fight, the sustainability just not there for Aptyx. Citizens, barely going to be able to get this one over the line at the end. Another incredibly close affair, but they get the retake, and I don't think there's anything Aptyx are going to be able to do to actually turn this one around.
No, they can send some people, get some stall, try and buy themselves an opportunity to get back into this, but they're pushing into a team that has ultimates to burn and has all 6 people on the point ready to go. Nathan goes down, Alexio goes into the back and is summarily smashed by Pred. Moonblue's gone, Vanguard is gone, 1 by 1. Aptyx is wiped off the point, and that's going to be another win for Citizens, 2-0 here on Busan.
Okay, and they look like they've got themselves together when it comes to these control maps, when it comes to these brawly engagements around this central point. Citizens coming out on top now twice in this series, and that's gonna be something to keep an eye out for going forward. If we wind up going to a map 5, there's still one more control map in our pool at this point. I think Aptyx would be wise to ban that out, but that's putting the cart a little bit before the horse. We've got map 4 to deal with first, and that's going to be Aptyx with the map.
Yeah, and taking the impetus back in this series, going up 2-1. It'll be interesting to see what map comes here, because we saw another sort of non-conventional pick come out from Aptyx in the form of the Ash, and this one didn't quite have the same pay dirt. You've got to think right now Citizens are feeling good. They're feeling confident. And really, I do hope that Aptyx bans out that next control point, because as you said, they're looking just that little bit weaker in the brawls in terms of just the sheer mechanical just chaos that is the constant scraps that you get on these points. Citizens they're up against it here. There's no other way to put it.
No, they're now, or Aptyx now facing elimination.
Right.
Yes, we've got elimination maps on our hands at this point. Any further losses will send Aptyx home in their run in this tournament. So it's going to be fascinating to see where we go with this next map. It's going to have to be an assault map, because now Citizens has banned out both of our escort maps in the pool. We just played control. I guess they could take us to another hybrid, but it is going to be Volskaya at the end of the day. And this is going to be where Aptyx try to make their stand.
Yeah, and it's a good place to do it. There's a lot of the front chokes on point A can be a real tar pit for teams. That point, there's a lot of angles that you can defend it on, and also there's a lot of ways that you can attack. If they wanted to, team on attack could use Symmetra to do a wide wraparound or immediately go to the high ground to contest the defenders. There's some possibilities here, and we can see if Aptyx is going to bring them to bear. But right now, honestly, I think they just need to focus on cleaning things up, because right now, Citizens has had they did a good job in that last time of shutting out Moonblue, of denying that early disruption and damage, and then just pushing aggressively off of the back of that denial, driving Aptyx back, using their shields to buy more and more space until eventually Aptyx kind of crumbles under the pressure. They need to find a way to make those brawls go in their favor, because if they don't, Citizens seems to have sort of settled into a winning groove here.
They definitely have. They kind of got back on track there on Busan. We'll see if they can close it out here on Volskaya. Aptyx fighting for their tournament lives at this point. And we'll see if they have a little bit more magic here, if they can force us to a map 5. They will be on the attack first, so they'll get to set the pace here on Volskaya.
That they will, but while we're waiting here, one thing I just want to point out: don't forget, for those of you watching on Twitch, to go to the Twitch panel below the game itself. Vote for your MVP for the match.
Indeed.
After the game, we're going to be interviewing the Viewer's Choice MVP. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options so far in this series, and you at home can vote for your favorite. Give a little bit of love to one of these players. Give them some props, some bragging rights coming out of this match, because my God, the performances here tonight on an individual level, I think have been phenomenal, pretty much across the board. We've had some real standouts on both sides. Those Doomfists, Pred and Moonblue, have been incredible to watch.
Agreed, and don't forget Skarm with the hero play, Kemboyo doing an impressive job on the Lucio himself. Purple, I think, is not maybe getting some of the love that he deserves from us. Not making flashy plays, but he's making impactful ones.
Yeah, really putting the Sigma to good use, and now Aptyx, they're back to that Bastion symmetric composition that worked so well for them on King's Row. It's going to be a teleporter over to the high ground. They lose Moonblue in the meantime. Kemboyo coming in with the boot. He will give his life for that, so ultimately kind of going in the favor of Aptyx, but they're getting ambushed by Citizens. They were ready and waiting for that teleporter to come in, and they just jump right on top of him.
And I wonder if going through the building outside of spawn and then emerging at the choke and then deciding to wrap around and go for the teleport, I wonder if that wasn't a bad choice for them, because one, let Salieri go for the opening pull, which nearly got 2 members of Aptyx before the fight even started.
This time they're going to try to just go through the main choke. They've gotten the high ground here, but the big boot from Kemboyo doesn't let them get towards the point. Sends them all back into the waiting arms of Citizens, and the cleanup is going to be pretty easy from that point.
Yeah, they're just setting up in the perfect spots to catch these sort of teleporter attacks, and it looks like Aptyx is going to kind of give up on that after the 2 failed pushes, which I think is the correct move. It's either Kemboyo or Salieri in position to meet them, knock them into the rest of the team. It's not making anything happen here. It's too predictable.
That's going to leave them so behind in terms of ultimate charge, so it's going to have to be those individual plays coming out from Aptyx to try to push through here. They're caught up in that flux. Purple getting the triple kill. You said he's been the unsung hero so far, but they're coming through loud and clear with the triple kill.
Agreed. And if you look at that ult percentage, Vanguard still doesn't have his ultimate online. Purple's already building back towards it.
I mean, that's what happens when you have to swap comps and you lose those first couple of fights so decisively. You're so far behind in terms of that ultimate economy. I mean, they might not even really have anything for this fight either. Moonblue going down early, the supercharger out from Salieri, and once again, Citizens here on the cleanup. They are looking like they want to end this series pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a fire lit under them right now. And what tried to go in that fight with the sort of aggressive teleport pretty much directly behind Citizens, but they were ready to receive it. So far, any angle that's being taken by Aptyx, Citizens is just ready, waiting for them. They are there to meet them in the parking lot at every turn.
Yeah, getting through this choke has been pretty oppressive, and now we've got the Far Mercy out for Aptyx. Moonblue picking up the aerial damage dealer in an attempt to break through, to give them some alternate angles, force some attention away from the rest of the team. But so far, Citizens holding strong at the moment. The flux coming out from Vanguard. It took a while to get there, picks up 4, but the sound barrier from Kemboyo keeps them all alive, and Default running over them. They take the fight in the front line. They ignore the Pharah, and they just clean up.
Absolutely. And right now, if you're Aptyx, you need to make some swaps. You got to maybe go for the Hammond to get to that point quickly, because you have 15 seconds and there is a lot of stun and CC to get through if you want to trigger overtime.
So this is going to be pretty desperate here. They've got 0 ultimates on their side. Purple gonna unleash that Flux in an attempt to keep them off the point. Not quite going to be able to keep Wet from getting there on the Doomfist now. No more Reaper for him. Gets dealt with immediately. And now it's just about since finding targets, taking them down. Can they find the next one? It's a brawly fight right now with Nathan trying to buy time on the Wrecking Ball. Not going to be enough in the end. The Death Blossom from default finish it off, and a convincing full hold Citizen.
Absolutely. Citizens looked good. The composition from Aptyx just really didn't favor them in these longer, more drawn-out fights. Just didn't have the damage to secure kills in the same way that Citizens did. And while that Pharah was able to put in a lot of damage, he was getting checked, because I don't know if you saw this, but like right at the start of that last fight, Purple and Salieri hit a Halt Accretion combo on the Pharah in the air. Just immediately stunned him up, took him out of the fight for a good few seconds. And from there, the positioning was a little more cautious coming out of, I think it was Moonblue on the Pharah.
Yes, I mean, he was playing so far back, almost, kind of behind the point, and the rest of the fight was going down, towards the front lines, and Citizens were able to just kind of steamroll them in that case. It's kind of what we saw earlier tonight on, I believe it was Night Market, where we saw the Pharah come out from Citizens in that situation, and they just kind of ignored it. They play the front line, and they win the fight pretty handily. So now Aptyx, they've got to be a little bit desperate here. You cannot afford any progress on this point. A single tick is all that Citizen needs to finish off this series.
And Aptyx is looking to go back to some tricks that brought them success on King's Row. They're trying to bring out the Bastion. Might not have done them well on their attack, but it's a lot of damage you can put down to point and try and grind out targets quickly before the burst DPS coming out from Pred and Default can swing the fight in your favor. You have a lot of barrier destroying capability here. Let's see what they can make happen with it.
Okay, the rotation coming in from Citizens up to the high ground to put some pressure, and a little bit late on the rotation is Aptyx, but Moonblue with a huge boop there. The concussion rocket sends Salieri to an icy swim, and they will be able to hold on for that, at least this first push.
Yep, and honestly, if you're Citizens, that could be disastrous for Aptyx right now. Skarm falling, getting taken out by Purple, a key pick that will leave them down a significant amount of their sustainability. Right now, if you're Aptyx, you're just going to take that position on the right-hand side, push in, stop Mercy from reuniting with the rest of the team fast, and this is... This is looking dire right now. The Immortality field is gone. What is off the field? No res available. Skarm just now about to get back into this fight, and it's too late at this point. That pick coming in from Purple was all they needed, and just like that, it's going to be Citizens taking the tick here on Volskaya, taking the series 3-1 and moving on for that juicy rematch against Dismissed. Which I am very excited to see, because we had some masterful adjustments coming out from Citizens in the later matches of this series. The first couple were close. It didn't look like there was a mismatch going on here. It looked like these teams could definitely take maps off of each other, make each other bleed. But every map we saw the players on Citizens make adjustments just a little bit to counter whatever the strength from Aptyx was. And Aptyx just really couldn't do the same. They kind of, it's a little bit of an anticlimactic into that series, because we saw some really cool tricks coming out from Aptyx throughout, some different strategies, willing to go outside
of just the normal kind of meta composition, and I love to see that. But at the end, it just kind of falls apart as I think Citizens figured out their tricks a little bit. Especially we saw it there on Volskaya super clearly. Just a really one-sided affair. That defense was so powerful for Citizens, and they looked like they knew exactly what was coming, and they were ready at everything.
Yeah, and honestly, they also just had a killer instinct in the right moment. That pick from Purple, like that first push was countered very well by Aptyx. They were in a good position, but when Purple lands that kill on the Mercy, that's the go button. And time and again, I think Citizens was able to just kind of find the key clutch picks in the moment a little more often than Aptyx did. And when the chips are down, that's if you can manage that goes a long way towards getting you that win.
Absolutely, it does. And to come in and share a little bit of insight on how they got that win, we've got a member of the victorious Citizens here, Camboyo. Welcome to the call, and congratulations on the win.
Hey, what's up? Thank you.
So right. I want to ask you a little bit about kind of the adjustments that your team made specifically in regards to the Bastion compositions that Aptyx were running. It worked quite well for them on King's Row, but you guys had their number there on Volskaya. So what was the difference maker in that room?
Okay, so when they're playing against Bastion, we have to be playing around point as much as possible, and then when we see that opportunity to engage, like cooldowns are being used, lamp is gone or something, we all have to be together. We have to use Sigma's Grasp to cut down to get space onto him without taking the damage, and hopefully we can burn the Bastion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love to see that kind of mid-match adjustment coming out there. From the inside of the series, was after losing King's Row, did it ever feel like things were starting to go against you guys, or the momentum was not in your favor? How do you kind of respond to losing that second map, and how do you kind of get yourself back into the series?
It was just we all needed to slow down individually and as a team. We just need to slow down, think about what we're doing, not just get caught up in the moment, and really just understand what went wrong that map, forget about it like mentally, and just go again.
And what in your mind was the thing that kind of went wrong in that map? Because from our perspective, it looked like Moonblue on the Doomfist was able to land a lot of early picks or disruption that really kind of put you guys on the back foot. Was that adjustment sort of like, okay, this guy is getting away with too much, we need to zone him out? Or was there something else that you guys think was a bigger factor?
I feel like on King's Row, we felt very distinct with each other. Specifically, our tanks, a lot of times, actually the Lucio we noted would boop us a lot, and we would be kiting back from ults, and our Sigma would get caught out, and our Orisa wouldn't because he'd have Fortify. And yeah, that was like a big thing that we took note of, so that we wanted to force Lucios out more and play slower, and not let that happen.
Okay, well, as we look kind of towards the rest of this tournament, the next round, I don't know if you have looked at the bracket, but you guys are going to be going up against Dismiss, the team that sent you down into the lower bracket in the first place. So, how does it feel going into a rematch like that?
I think it's good. I don't think that match was our true potential. I think it wasn't our A game, and I'm very happy that we have a chance to prove ourselves again.
And do you have a prediction for how that match will go? Your chance to drop some spice if you so choose.
Well, I definitely think we're gonna win. I mean, I'm not gonna put my team down like that, but it'll definitely be a match worth watching. It won't be a roll either way, for sure.
Agreed. No. And do you have a message you want to give to Dismissed for that matchup?
No, not really.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. He'll let his play speak for itself, and I kind of like that, and I do want to thank you for giving us a little bit of your time here at the end of the series. Well played, well earned victory here tonight. But before we let you go, I do want to give you the opportunity to give some shout outs, plug streams, anything like that you want for you, your teammates, really anything. This is your time.
All right. I want to give a shout out to my first team, Burbs, for they've fueled my passion for this game, and for my biggest fan, Cybertex. He just always supports me, and it's a big confidence boost.
Okay, well, thank you, Burbs, for giving us Camboyo, because we love to have him here, and it's fantastic to see him and Citizens having so much success. I am really looking forward to seeing what you guys can do through the rest of the lower bracket and on through the remainder of the tournament. Congratulations on the win here tonight, and we'll let you go celebrate with the team.
All right, thank you.
All right, what a series we got here
Absolutely.
tonight. That was fantastic. I mean, I think we are really starting to get to the point in this tournament where every single series is going to be close. These teams are very evenly matched, and we saw that here tonight. A really good showing from Aptyx. I think I was very impressed with what they were able to do, both in terms of strategically and then just kind of the individual plays as well. Their performance really impressed me.
Agreed. And honestly, if this is the quality of games going forward too, we're gonna have a lot more entertaining series just like this one. And like you said, the pressure's on now. This is do or die. These teams are fighting for their tournament lives, and we're gonna get to see if that fire is going to sort of lift them up, kind of push them forward, just that drive to compete, or if it's going to make them kind of crumble under the pressure going forward.
Definitely. I mean, we are getting down to the do or die situations, the nitty gritty. This is where the sausage is made, and now teams are really showing what they're made of at this point. And I'm liking to see what we're getting out of these right now. Citizens showed me some real grit here tonight in the way that they responded, the way they adapted, and they've struggled at times a little bit with the new meta and making the swaps and adapting to it. But tonight, I think they really kind of came into their own, and we talked about it earlier. That rematch with Dismissed is just it's gonna be
the possibilities are so juicy, especially because Dismissed, they're gonna have a chance to look at this match and look at this and analyze it and see if there's anything in that tape that they can find to exploit. Citizens is gonna need to again step up their game if they want to keep pushing forward and make that run for the finals.
Indeed they will. And before we step out of here and sign off for the night, we do have one more little tidbit here, and that is Default coming away with the viewers MVP. You guys at home thought that he put up a great series here tonight, and how can you argue with that? Citizens coming away with the win, and Default was a huge piece of that. His Reaper play especially, I thought was fantastic, and a really integral part of what made Citizens tick.
Absolutely. He put down a lot of damage, was able to consistently find targets to kill, and perhaps most importantly, he was able to go in, get that damage, secure those kills, and then get out, which is such an important thing in that fight, because a little front-loaded damage, that's good, but if you can keep grinding at the enemy team throughout the entire fight, that goes a lot further towards securing you that win. And while the Reaper on Aptyx occasionally went for, shall we say, daring teleports that were punished, Default was able to make this work for him. And if you can do that, that does a lot for your team, just being able to win fights consistently.
Most definitely. But that brings us to the end of our broadcast here tonight. It's been a pleasure casting with you. We had
Likewise.
some wonderful games. I really enjoyed this. But before we go, just want to remind everyone at home, it is September right now, which means that on Twitch, half off new tier 1 subs. So if you are feeling a little generous and you're liking what we're bringing to the table here at Star Esports, we would really appreciate any support that you can give to us, whether it be a follow, a sub, anything at all. Come join us in the Discord. We've got a great community here, excited about Overwatch and really putting together a great event. We'll be back soon, sometime next in the next few days, with more wonderful action from the All-Star Brawl 2. But for now, signing off, this has been Shy Guy and CJ.
Have a good night, everyone. Stay classy, Internet.